Hello, Olmaldius. Olmaldius. I don't know how to say your name. How are you doing today? Good. That's good. That's good to hear. Let's try. How long do you think I can make this mic? There we go. Hey guys. We're gonna let people roll on in here. And we're gonna do a big ol' Q&A today. It's gonna be fun. So let's try and get 100 viewers. And once we get 100 viewers, we'll jump on into Q&A and try and generate some good content for you guys, and also generate some wish lists for Neversong. That's the end goal here. Generate wish lists. I'm not gonna lie to you. Excuse me. Hey, that's awesome. Thank you, Ilurky. Thank you very much. All right, we're getting there. 35 viewers today. Let's see how many viewers we can get. Let's get to 100 and then we'll start the Q&A. I want there to be a sizable audience so I can answer questions if I can. By the way, guys, what you're looking at right now is Neversong inside of Unity. Pretty cool, huh? So what's cool is you have everything it kind of looks like it makes sense, right? You're like, okay, there's one level, but then there's all this junk up here. This is where all the interiors are located. They're sort of hiding above the world, which is not that crazy. I actually saw in, I think it's Ocarina of Time, all of the underground little holes you go through in the ground in Hyrule Field, they're all in one scene. It's pretty cool to look at. All right, let's see here. Once we get to 100 viewers, guys, I'll answer questions. And the rules are, if you wishlist the game, then you can ask a question. That's the only rules I've got. So click below, wishlist Neversong. While we're waiting, go ahead and wishlist, and I'll answer any questions you guys have. It could be about game development. It can be about Neversong. All right, we're at 62 viewers. Once we hit 100, we'll start the Q&A. I hope everybody's doing well today. Let me take a look at the chat. Moises Napoli says, I enjoy making games. It's a beautiful thing because it's like creating a world and making it alive. That's correct, it is. Very much so. I do not use this is a good question. Olmaldius, since you were the first one in the chat, I'll go ahead and answer your question before everyone arrives. You asked me if I'm using Cinemachine. I've never used Cinemachine before, but it's awesome and you should use it. This game, Neversong, this was Eric Coburn, the coder of the game, developer of the game. He created a custom camera move script, and it does a lot of things. It parallaxes, it shifts based on what the target is. It's kind of like Cinemachine, but for 2D. But I guess Cinemachine is 2D, isn't it? So anyway. All right, we got enough people in here. We got 66 people watching so far. That's great. Thanks, guys, for joining me. First thing we're going to do is we're going to watch the Neversong trailer. If you guys haven't seen it already, we're going to watch it. And then we'll move on into the Q&A. All right, here we go, guys. Hope everybody's doing well today. Let's go ahead and watch the Neversong trailer.
Once upon a time, there was a boy, an orphan without a single toy. His name was Pete. His world was grey, until he found a friend one day.
Terror as Ren was kidnapped, so the grown-ups went to try and find her.
to my feast. And children, I now have much to eat. Pete was timid, scared, and small. And this was his last farewell. For Pete into a coma fell. Don't be mad. I'm just a child.
All right, poopies. Thanks for watching. Let's turn on our lo-fi again and get started on the Q&A. All right, guys. Do you remember the rules? The rules are wish list below using the link in the description. And that's your payment. That's all you got to pay to ask questions. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Logical asks, was that the first play of the trailer? Yes, this was an exclusive live premiere. No, it was not. It's sort of been out for a while, actually. It was actually released in October when I thought I was going to release the game. And then Apple came along and told us that they wanted to help us make the game even better. And we were like, okay. So we delayed the launch. And so then we launched the trailer again last week with the new name, Neversong. All right, here we go. This is a great question. This is from Temper Tantrum. Did you hire someone to do the voice acting, or is that you? Excuse me. I gotta admit, I've tried to do voice acting before, and it's always very cringy. I do voice acting in this game, but it's usually for like creatures that I can really manipulate my voice. So no, yeah, I hired people. The voice actor, his name is Dick Terhune, and he does like a lot of really cool stuff. And he's on a website called voices.com. All of the voice acting that I do is on, most of it is from a website called voices.com. And voices.com, believe it or not, is not that expensive, guys. I guess I can disclose. I can't actually disclose how much it cost. It wasn't that expensive to do voice acting. And in fact, we were done with the game, or at least when I say that, I've said that several times. What I mean is when we thought we were done with the game, which was like in July last year, we actually said, you know what, let's throw in some voice acting. And we like just at the 11th hour added voice acting. And so we hired out a bunch of, actually, believe it or not, all of the voice actors or all of the voice actresses are female for the children. I found that children voice actors are actually they're hard to come by, and the talent pool is small. Most of you know this, especially if you watch 90s movies. A child voice actor or actress can really ruin and make your project really cringy. So after digging through the portfolio of a lot of the child voice actors and actresses, I just found that if you want a good child voice, you can actually find a lot of female voice actresses to do a child voice. And so most of these are actually all the children except for this boy right here. All of the kids are female voice actresses, even though they're playing male children. This is the only one, and this was a guy. What was his name? Daniel Amerman. And the reason I wanted him to be male was because this is kind of a bro-ish character. He's kind of a bro. And so I figured, hey, I could just use I think he's like 20 years old. So the voice actor. So that's where I got all my voice actors and actresses. They were voices.com. It's a great website. Okay, next question. Any information, this is from Paj Pitakamnang. I'm sure it's a beautiful last name. I'm sorry I butchered it. You say, Paj says, any information on approximately how much an indie game makes for the developing studio? I'm trying to start a career in game development with a publisher approach with no idea how much it pays. I'm not sure what you mean exactly, like the developing studio. Okay, if you're a publisher, I think that's what you're saying you want to do, is be a publisher. If you're a publisher, you're going to demand, rightly so, because you're probably going to pay in advance. You're going to pay in advance anywhere from $50,000 to $200,000, all the way up to $600,000. I don't know, for the rights to distribute and license the game. And you're going to take a rev share from 5% to 50%. Usually you don't go higher than 50% unless you just want to own the game outright. So an indie game, let's pretend it's a game similar to the scale of, you know, a small indie game that doesn't get a huge amount of attention, but it does okay. Like, let's say it has 1,000 reviews on Steam. It might make somewhere around grossing $250,000. And that sounds amazing, right? Not really, because this is just really depressing. So get ready. Steam's going to take 30%. So let's make it even 100,000 so that I don't get confused. let's say in the first year, your indie game makes $100,000. And you're the developer and you have a 60% rev share. Well, I'm going to try and do the math. I know I'm going to botch this, but Steam's going to take 30,000. That leaves 70,000 left. And then you're going to split that up between the publisher and the developer. What's 60% of $70,000? Well, let's use the calculator here. I should know this, shouldn't I? But I don't, because I told you guys I'm not smart. We got our $70,000 is left over for the publisher and the developer. So the developer is going to make, let's say 60% is his contract, which is steep in the sense that the publisher getting 40%. That's a steep cut for the publisher. They better have invested a lot of time and money in this game to justify that. So 70,000 times 0.6. So 42,000 is left over for the developer. Ooh, that's kind of good, right? Not really, not if you're paying 2 people. Well, let's make it even worse for you guys. You're probably going to get taxed at least 25%. So 42,000, at least in the United States. I can't speak for other people. 42,000 times 0.25. So we're gonna take 10,000 out, 10.5 out from 42,000. So 42,000, 42, 1, 2, 3 minus 10,500. That leaves you with $31,000 and $31,500. Congratulations. You made less than, what's that, poverty level? I think that's poverty level income. And the publisher made what? Probably after tax, something like 15,000. So it's pretty devastating, honestly. Now, obviously that's for $100,000 for an indie game. Now, if you made 200,000, it would be double that. So you would have made $60,000 on Steam if your game sold $200,000 worth of copies. Now, here's the exciting part. Usually you don't just sell your game on Steam, right? You're gonna sell Steam keys on Humble Bundle. So usually Humble Bundle, you'll make around $10,000 to $20,000. So let's say you also did a Humble Bundle, that's $30,000, $32,000 plus an additional, let's say $15,000 cut to you, because you also are going to be doing that with your publisher, most likely. So that's $47,000 in the first year. And you're probably also going to sell it on GOG, which would probably be 10% of what you made on Steam. So that's $3,700 or $3,500. So that's $50,000 in the first year. So that's why it's super duper important for you to tell your publisher, you need to help me with the port, help me with the port. But the problem is that the publisher probably gave you an advance, didn't they? Oh, they did. They gave you an advance of $50,000. Well, subtract $50,000 because they're going to need to recoup that, right? So you just made $500 in the first year. So that is why it's very important for you guys to push hard, to make, maybe I did the math wrong there. I don't know if I did. Yeah, the math would have been different. Usually there's a recoup, right? So if your game made $100,000 in the first year, that leaves $70,000. Okay, so let's do the math again. $100,000 in Steam sales, gross, right? That means without Steam taking anything, without taxes, without VAT, without anything. That's $100,000 minus the $30,000 because that's what Steam takes. That leaves you with $70,000, right? Well, the publisher, that goes into their bank account. It doesn't go into yours. It goes into the publisher's bank account. And they say, you know what? And this is fair, right? This is fair because they gave you $50,000 up front. They said, we gave you $50,000 up front, so they're going to take it. Bang. They took away $50,000. So that leaves $20,000 left over for you guys to split. Multiply that times 0.6. So you just made, wait, crap. 70,000, 20,000. Multiply that times 0.6. So that leaves over $12,000 for you to take home after the recoup. And you know, the thing is, guys, is in your head, you're like, why would I work with a publisher? Well, because the publisher is going to make it so that you don't make just $100,000 gross, right? Ideally, they're going to make you $1 million. Ideally, that's why you want to work with a good publisher. Is anybody depressed yet? So I'm just being honest with you. That's why I have to mess around on so many platforms to get income. I have income streams from about 10 different places. All right, guys, before you ask your question, did you wishlist the game? Please click the link below and wishlist. If you haven't wishlisted, all of you, 137 viewers, head on down and wishlist the game. Thomas, are you just live streaming for wish lists? Yes, that's what I'm doing. I am at your command only if you wish list. Because hey, after hearing those numbers, guys, hopefully you can sympathize with me. All right, here we go. Let's see here. Ooh, what's the best way of creating and planning a story? I would love to know your thoughts on how you went from an idea to the final product. Man, that's a good question. I don't know about you guys, but there are certain things that make me feel something. They make me feel something. I don't know why. For those of you who have been hanging out with me for a while now, you know that religious themes of death and life and resurrection and even creepy religious like symbolism and weird, strange, religious, demonic, hellish things, that really makes me tick. That really makes me feel something. So I just say the very first step for choosing the story you want to tell is what makes you feel something. What kind of movies do you gravitate towards? What kind of books do you gravitate towards? Are they history books? What about, I don't know, do you like the Revolutionary War? Is that something you're really into? Well, then maybe you should make something that's historical or what's the word? Like a period piece. Do you find yourself watching funny things? Well, maybe you should make a funny game or a goofy adventure game, something silly. It's really where your heart is the best way to first decide what your story should be. All right, that's about as much as I can go there. It's a complicated... Hey, Christian. Thanks for supporting as usual. I can't wishlist it. I'm Mormon? What? Am I reading that right? Which pipeline do I use? I just use the standard one out of the box. I don't worry about that. I probably should. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I'm not very smart, like I told you. Okay, this is a great question from Ahmad. Ahmad, is that how you say your name? I'm seriously trying to say it the way that it's supposed to be said. Ahmad. Please forgive me if I'm being, or if I'm botching it. Ahmad says, and remember guys, wishlist below. Please wishlist below. That's what this stream is for. I'm being selfish in this stream. Wishlist. He says, do I really need a publisher to develop something good on Steam? You know, a publisher doesn't tell you what's good. You would think they do. You get an email from a publisher. They have $10 million in the bank. They've released some great games, right? And you say, man, they're good. They're going to help me make a good game. Wrong. They do not help you make a good game. In fact, if you listen to them too much, they may actually help you make a bad game. They're not the developer. They're not the creator. They're the publisher. They have money in the bank and they have marketing skills. Well, what's marketing skills? It means they have money in the bank and they can spend money on marketing. Now, obviously, some of these publishers are really skilled. They have a good idea. I would think a good example is Serenity Forge, my publisher. Armor Games was really helpful. I would love to one day work with Devolver or Double Fine. I don't think they necessarily make a game good. They just know how to find a good game. So if you don't work with these publishers, it probably is because your game isn't good enough, quite frankly. Okay, so a publisher is not going to tell you whether a game is good. A better way to think of a publisher is think of them as an investor, someone who invests in your product, and they're going to let you do your thing. In my experience with both my publishers, Armor Games and Serenity Forge, they said, hey, Thomas, you just do your thing. You have complete creative control. Have fun. Man, I could have made the game hyper political. I could have made the game hyper religious. I could have been offensive. I could have done whatever I wanted because in the contract it said, Thomas, you have creative control. But obviously I wouldn't do that because I want to respect my publisher and I want to respect my audience as well. And I don't want to be too in your face about things. So the game is mine. And I was the one who determined whether it was good. The people who determine whether it's successful, that's a different story. And that's going to be your publisher. Now, some publishers, they don't really know what they're doing. And some publishers do know what they're doing. There's also a question of PR agencies. Who is, a publisher isn't a PR agency. A publisher hires a PR agency. Are the PR agencies that your publisher is working with, are they good PR agencies? I've had experience with both. I've had experiences with bad PR agencies where they didn't know what they were doing. I've had experiences with good PR agencies. It's really up to you to ask the right questions to your publisher, and don't let them manipulate you and tell you that you're stupid or that you don't have the right to ask certain questions. Here's the right, and this is especially true if it's in your contract. If you own the IP, the intellectual property, you have the right to ask whatever you want because it's yours. A publisher doesn't own you and they don't own your project. All they do is all they have is the right to license your game and sell it on certain platforms. So it's up to you to make sure that your game is good. All right, more questions. Anybody, please click that link in the description. Don't be an idiot. Click the link in the description. And wishlist never song. You get a tasty discount on launch. Okay, thank you for wishlisting, everybody. Hey, Thomas. My friends and I are currently working. This is from Nick Peters. Hey, Thomas, my friends and I are currently working on our first commercial game. At the end of this month, we want to start our marketing. Do you have any tips on how you could reach people outside of Germany? Well, make sure you speak English. Step one. And I'm not saying don't market to Germany either. I market to Germany. My games are marketed for 14 languages or localized for 14 languages. So obviously spreading it across the world is the most important thing. But the United States is going to be a huge, huge chunk of your sales. Why? Because United States people, all they do is play video games. I don't know why, actually. I think it's just probably the economy and all that. I'm just sort of joking. But yeah, your United States is going to be huge. So that's the first step. Understand how to speak to someone in the United States, right? When it comes to marketing, sending emails, and by the way, you're the one who's smart. I'm not smart. Okay. You're the one who speaks. I assume you speak multiple languages. I can't speak multiple languages. So you are smart. You can do this, and just learn to communicate to the United States market, the United States publishers, and build your social media following by tweeting out GIFs all day, every day, as much as you can. Build up an army of followers. A good example to look at is Edmund McMillan. He has an army on social media of people that love his work. I have a fairly large army, especially on YouTube, and Twitter is about 10,000 followers, which isn't a lot. I'm trying to build that up. But I've got a pretty decent sized army of supporters that are going to come to my rescue on launch day. And like I said, last live stream, make that big cannonball splash. Everybody's going to jump into the pool at once, make a big splash, and hopefully get noticed so that people in the press and other YouTubers can play my game because they saw you guys splash into the water and they said, you know what, I want to do that too. So that's your goal. Get an army. Get a big old army following you around. Okay, guys, we got more questions here. Don't forget to wishlist Neversong using the link in the description. This is from Mohammed. Hello, Mohammed. How are you? Hello, Thomas. I love your content. Thank you very much, Mohammed. I have a question about level design. How do you start setting difficulty curve? Man, this is gonna be outside of my pay grade because I'm not good with level design. Like, for example, Muhammad, this right here, this wasn't designed. I didn't like put this down on paper. I just started making something. And it's pretty obvious when you look at it. The only one that I did do that was this level called the Spaderian Sewer. And Muhammad, I'm not trying to, you know, ignore your question. I just don't know if I can answer it. But your question was, how do you start setting the difficulty curve for game levels? How do you plan it and how do you progress it? Man, you know, the only level I did that was this level right here. It's called the Spaderian Sewer. Where are you, buddy? I think it's just called well level. We changed it to a sewer, but it's called well level. If I open that up, it'll take a while to load up. This one has some kind of a level design to it. I drew it on paper. Obviously, I just did a sketch. And here's the thing. Don't take my advice because if you play my games, you probably get the sense that there's not a ton of level design to it. And look how messy this is. My goodness. And this is my fault. But yeah, it kind of goes in a loop down these elevators. And, you know, it's probably just my fault. I'm not very good at this. Yeah. And, you know, it looks really messy, doesn't it? It's like, man, Thomas, how did you put this together? Like, how did you not go crazy? And I'm not saying, ooh, it's so complicated. I'm saying it's a mess and it's not good. The reason I didn't go crazy is because it slowly built up over time. It used to be really clean and then it just turned into an effing mess. But it plays well, works fine. I'm not gonna pretend it's bad in the final package is pretty good. I like it a lot. And by the way, when I'm complaining about this has nothing to do with the team who coded this. They were pissed at me when I was messy. I was a very messy level designer. I remember like every Monday, Friday I would push, and Monday the dev team would open it up and be like, why are there, like, I would have little notes, 3D text, like where I would write notes to myself and put them all over the scene. And it was just a mess. And they would say, Thomas, please be cleaner. And maybe I will get better, you know, maybe I'll get better about that. But my point is trying to encourage you, Muhammad, and say, you know, you shouldn't focus so much on perfect level design. Maybe you should. But my personality doesn't do that because I can focus on atmosphere and music and illustration and make things look pretty. And I can get away with bad level design. All right, guys, please, please, please click that link in the description. Click that link in the description and wishlist Neversong. It's coming out May 20th, and you guys can get that tasty discount. If you want me to answer your question, you have to wishlist first. I'm reading your mind, and I know whether you're doing it. So wishlist Neversong. Okay, Define Dottie says, are you more proud of Pinstripe or Neversong? I'm not proud of either. I'm not usually, well, that's not true. I'm a freaking liar. Because yesterday I said I was proud of it. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of, let's put it this way. I'm proud of both equally because I'm just generally like a flat line, like, yeah, of course, I'm proud of it. I like it. I think it's good. But I'm more proud of Eric, who's the coder of this game. He did a really good job. He was very diligent in getting everything put together with the code base. So it's easier for me to be like really proud of someone else because most of the stuff I couldn't do, and he did a really good job. So I'm proud of Eric. He worked really, really hard. All right, guys. Rupert Gray says, I just added the wish list. Thank you. Congratulations. Now I'll answer your question, guys. Wish list Neversong, and I'll answer your questions. I would like to know how you made your game as an artist. Hired a programmer? Okay, so the first part of this question is, yeah, I'm the artist of this game. So these are all Photoshop files, and then they're layered. I can turn off the 2D mode. Actually, 2D mode is off. Okay. Yeah, it's all layered. So every scene is layered, and every screen box is layered, and then my developer Eric, it's not my developer, it's actually Serenity Forge's developer, puts together the system for the camera to jump between screen boxes. So this level is actually pretty horrifying, right? The main reason why it's horrifying is these right here, these little moss pieces. Those are pretty messy, and they just make everything look like a mess. But what I did was, you guys could do this as well. Negotiate with your publisher. Say, hey, you know, I would really like to work with you guys. Could you give me a developer? Maybe give me 4 hours a week or 20 hours a week of his time, and you guys we can sort of almost like a partnership, make this game together and see what they say. That's what I did with Serenity Forge. It really worked out, actually. I really enjoyed it. Okay, guys. This is a great question from Sharia. Sharia must have wishlisted the game, because Sharia asked a question, and questioners should wishlist the game. So click below, guys. This is from Sharia. Marketing is a big part of how well your game does. Yes, it is. It's got to be 80% of how, unless you just make a kick butt game and it just blows up. Most games are just decent, right? They're just decent games. It's a good game. It's good. Yeah, I'd buy that. If your game is that, you need to market it well, because every game is, it's pretty good. Marketing is a big part of how well your game does. You could have an amazing game, but if you don't put it out there, there's no point. How much do you plan to invest in marketing? I actually don't know how much we've invested with the dollar amount, but I can tell you what I've done. The first thing I want to tell you is your publisher is going to say, do not market the game. We've got this. Don't listen to that. Do not listen to that. That's so stupid. That makes no sense. What you guys should be doing is what I'm doing for this game. I've got a big old spreadsheet, and Hector's helping me out. Hector's my producer. He put together a spreadsheet of like 300 different people in the press and YouTubers and all that. And we go through each email address. We write a personalized email address with a Steam key. We send it to their email address. We tweet at them and say, by the way, I sent you a Steam key. We do that. Let me skip this song. I don't like it. We also reach out to YouTubers, and some YouTubers are like, okay, if you want me to play your game, that's gonna be $20,000. Whoa, I don't have $20,000. I have $5. Maybe. Now in my case, I'm a bit further along in my indie game career, so I might actually be able to like really take that risk if I really needed to be completely honest. I could probably maybe swing that. I don't know if it'd be worth it at all. But you know, some YouTubers out there like Jacksepticeye, PewDiePie, Game Grumps, the list goes on of YouTubers who helped me out. There's a lot of good-hearted YouTubers out there. And man, I gotta admit, I don't know if I'm that YouTuber. I don't know if I'd be willing to just spend my time to play a random game. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. They're very generous. Jacksepticeye, PewDiePie, Game Grumps, they've all played my games, and that was because I reached out to them. So in terms of marketing, I don't usually spend a dollar amount. I just reach out, and I tell people where I'm at. I'm really honest about it. I say, look, like, this is my first game. It would be really helpful if you were willing to play the game. Maybe I can throw a Easter egg in there for you so that your audience thinks it was worth their time. You know, like for example, Jacksepticeye was a character in Pinstripe because, you know, I love Jacksepticeye. I was a fan of his, and it also sort of made it worth his time to play the game. So that's kind of where my marketing is it's all in investing my time in really connecting with people. And that's what I said in one of my videos. If you guys want to be successful, you need to be emotionally available. You need to be able to connect with your audience and connect with the people you're networking with. Okay, guys, click the link in the description to wishlist Neversong. That would mean a lot to me. How much do I pay my marketing guy? I don't have a marketing guy. I'm the marketing guy. Why do you think I'm doing this video? I guess I could tell you how much I pay myself. but I'm not going to do that. Hey, what music is this? This is Epidemic. They have a playlist on Spotify. Okay, this is great. Thank you. Motley Martin says, hey Thomas, I wishlisted Neversong. And I have a question. What advice do you have for a dev? How is doing everything making a game, what? Especially during quarantine. Man, quarantine, let's be honest, doesn't really affect game devs very much. Aren't all of us on quarantine anyway? I don't know. I don't know how to answer your question, but all I can say is that for me, game sales have been down a little bit because you would think people are buying more video games, right, during quarantine? Not necessarily, because people need money to buy games. And if they're not employed, which is what quarantine is doing, then people aren't going to buy games. So you want to know what's been really down is sponsorships. Things have slowed down a lot with sponsorships for YouTube, but they're picking back up. So that's good. Okay. Do you have any tips? This is from Pedro. Pedro, thank you for wish listing. I could tell you did. Thank you. I know you did. I can read your mind. Wish list below, guys. Wish list Neversong. It's coming out May 20th. You get a discount. Pedro says, do you have any tips to make a YouTube for game devlog? Yes. It's pretty straightforward, but if you're going to start doing YouTube for game development, what I've learned is people have two problems, and this is why they go on YouTube. They want to know, is game dev worth my time? So lie to them and tell them it is. And second, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. It is worth your time. It's a rough road, but it's worth your time. The second thing is they love to see you open up the box. At least for me, they love. I mean, don't you guys just love seeing this mess? As horrifying and messy as this is, what does this do when you see this? What it does is it affirms your suspicion that game devs are people, that we're human beings. And this looks about as clean as my room, right? You guys wake up in the morning, your room's a mess. Well, you're a human being, right? And the same is true with your game. Now, I don't recommend it being messy. It wasn't always messy. It really wasn't. And it's not that messy when you turn off the gizmos. Anyway, what's my point? I don't know my point. That's my answer. Nathan says, are you drunk? This is water. I'm drunk on water. Can you repeat please? This is from Franklin. Franklin, thank you for wishlisting Neversong. Can you repeat please? How did you do the screen boxes in your game? Yes, I can. Let me see here. All right, so if we zoom in, I can't really tell you exactly how they were done because they're done by Eric, the developer. But this is just obviously it's a GUI being drawn. It's kind of like a gizmo almost. It's being drawn, this red box. So it's not actually real. It's just a coordinate in a script. And then you tell the camera if the player is within this screen box, within the coordinates of this rectangle, the camera's going to snap and point at the player. Then what's also occurring, if we go to non-2D mode and rotate out, what's also occurring is whatever's in the far z-axis, way back here, that is actually going to parallax more based on its distance from the camera. It's not actually a real parallax. It's not an orthographic. I'm sorry, it's not a perspective parallax. It's actually scripted. So you take the z value and then you multiply its position by that z value, and it's going to cause things to shift and parallax. A good way to look at it is if I rotate a little bit here. Actually, I can't do it that way. It's yes. Now we're in perspective mode. See how things have a parallax? In perspective mode, you have to mimic that when you're using an orthographic camera. Hope that makes sense. That's Best as I can do with these screen boxes here. Screen boxes are a real pain. I don't know why I decided to do it this way, but that's what we decided to do. Thomas, a technical question from Steve. Steve, you obviously wishlisted Neversong. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for asking a question. And guys, wishlist Neversong below using the link in the description. That's what my life's about right now, getting wish lists. Hey Thomas, this is from Steve. A technical question. When making it HD art, do you worry about pixel perfect? No. Not really, no. Like, this is 4K-ish. It's like 3.5K. But look at this. Look at that. Look how gross that is. It's compressed. What I really worry about, Steve, is the edges. So I like the edges to be really crisp. But if you open this up in Photoshop, it looks gorgeous. But because the camera's zoomed out, I don't worry about it. And it's got all the effects and all that good stuff, image effects and whatnot. So I don't really worry about it. The UI, you want to be pixel perfect. Yeah. UI, you want to worry about. And guys, this isn't a pixel art game, so I'm not going to worry about pixel perfect, you know. Look at that. Isn't that cool? You can like zoom through the 2D world. It's kind of frightening. Look how horrifying that is. Look, it's like if I was on a rocket, I got launched into space. Sorry. All right. Super Otaku says, can my and Super Otaku, thank you for wishlisting Neversong, guys. I'm trying to make a habit. Every question I answer, I tell you to wishlist Neversong. It would really mean a lot to me. Please, thank you. There's a link in the description. Get a discount on launch. Thomas, this is from Super Otaku. Can my really first big project be successful? 2 to 4 years game project. Maybe. What I'll tell you is, your first game should be small. I'm sorry if you've invested a lot of time, Super Otaku. I really am. Maybe it's great, but the chance of it being successful, I think, is small, because you really need to release a couple small games first for those glaringly obvious problems that you had no idea were problems to be made evident by your audience. You need to be able to read those reviews on itch.io, or if you released a game, I used to release games on newgrounds.com. And you know, but the truth is one of my first games was really small, and that was called Coma, which that's what this game is based on, Neversong. Coma was pretty successful. It had like 8 million plays. I made about $20,000, and that was a lot for me as a college student. So it was successful, but it wasn't nearly as successful as a commercial game should be. A commercially released game on Steam, Switch should at least make like $500,000 eventually over a period of like 3 years. I think if you're making less than that, it's fine, but it's not going to be enough to like, it might be, I'm sorry. If you make 500,000, it'll be enough for you and maybe one other person to take that money and make another game. But you're going to be strapped for cash eventually, and pinching pennies. So that's just my opinion. And it's not crazy. It's not a crazy thought to think that launching on Switch, Steam, PS4, Xbox, mobile, that you can't scrap together $500,000 eventually. That's my opinion about a commercial game. Smaller games, like let's say, but the reason I say that is if it takes you like 2 to 3 years to make a game. If that's the case, then yeah, you need to make $500,000, because you're going to be spending 25 to 30% at least on contract work and development, and then you're going to be splitting that money or just taking it for yourself to pay yourself a salary for 3 years. So yeah, and to be able to pull off $500,000 in your first game, I don't think that's you could get lucky, but I don't know if that's fully possible with your very first game. I think you gotta make a lot of other games first. Small games. All right. Okay, Austin Reeves says, I'm already playing, and thank you for wishlisting Neversong, by the way, Austin. That really means a lot to me. Austin says, already playing Neversong on iOS. You've had success with Kickstarter in the past. Is that something you plan on using in the future? Sure. Neversong, not Neversong. Kickstarter is great. And Kickstarter is great for a variety of reasons. The audience really helps you out in terms of motivating you because they sort of lock it in. Like if you raise $100,000, you better pray to God that you finish that game. Otherwise, you're going to have Kickstarter backers with pitchforks at your door. So you want to make sure that you follow through. And so Kickstarter really puts a fire under your butt and makes you finish the game. Also helps you raise money, right? Money's always friendly. Like a good thing to have, especially when you're making a project. So yeah, I'll use Kickstarter as much as I can. They're always there for me at the beginning, and I really love that. And you know, the doors are going to open up as the Kickstarter is successful. If the Kickstarter is successful, doors will open up and opportunities will open up for a variety of different platforms and funding opportunities. So Kickstarter is that seed that helps sprout your plant to be just big enough to maybe even get bigger. If you want your plant to be a nice bush size and you made a little game and it's beautiful like Pinstripe, good. But what you can do is you could say Kickstarter is a bush, and then I'm going to use other opportunities as well to make a AAA game, or maybe not a AAA game, but something a little bit smaller than a AAA game. Some big game. I haven't done that yet. I don't know if I want to do that, but it's certainly an opportunity. So for a lot of game devs. Let's see here. How do I get sound effects for my games? I use productioncrate.com, epidemicsound.com, freesound.org. Sorry, I'm sweating. Kind of hot in here. Freesound.org is a good website. They have a lot of open source sounds there. Okie dokie. This is from Dead Stab. Dead Stab, thanks for wishlisting Neversong. I could tell you did. Guys, click the link in the description to wishlist Neversong. That would really mean a lot to me. And you can get a discount on launch on Steam. You get notified, so that's always a good thing. It would really mean a lot to me. Please do that before you ask a question. Thanks. Which tool, this is from Dead Stab. Which tool in Photoshop do you use for your game art? I use one tool. Mainly one tool. And it's the little I don't even know the name of it. It's the lasso tool that does angles. And what I do is I sort of just draw out a shape and then fill it in, and then draw in some highlights, fill it in. And by fill in, I use the gradient tool a lot. So you can probably see. And I also actually, for this game, I used the Bezier pen tool a lot to do these curves. And then I also use effects like bevel effects. That's actually an inner shadow effect. But there's a lot of gradients. And then I also use patterns. So this is a pattern that I created. And it loops seamlessly. Kind of. Actually, it doesn't loop seamlessly. You can tell right there. But no one noticed that except for me when I zoomed in. But typically what I'll do when I have something like that isn't seamless. Let's see if I can find an example. Yeah. So like right here, I'll cut in and create shadows for where it's not seamless, so it makes it look like there's an additional wall that was broken through this wall here. But this is literally just me using the lasso tool, the straight edge lasso tool, and just drawing it and I hold shift. So shift, straight line, shift, straight line, shift, straight line. And you can do shift for actually 45-degree angles as well. So I select all that, and then I get the gradient tool and I just do a pulse of gradient here, a pulse of gradient here, and a pulse of gradient here. And it causes it to look like it's back in the distance. That's the kind of tools I use in Photoshop. That's right, polygon lasso. Thank you, Ratul. This is a great question. Thank you so much. Momo Dev, no one's gonna know how much Neversong is going to make. No one's gonna know how much Neversong has made from publishers and partnerships, because that kind of stuff is usually between you and your publisher. And I think that's fair. So, but I can tell you how much it made on Kickstarter. It made $86,000 on Kickstarter through the wonderful support of Kickstarter. Okay, Brian, thank you for wishlisting Neversong and asking your question. Guys, if you haven't wishlisted Neversong, please wishlist Neversong below in the link in the description and get a launch discount. Get notified. That would be cool, wouldn't it? Hi, Thomas. This is from Brian. How important is the storyline compared to the game design? It's hard to find a good story, yet most people see design more important. Is the story something dispensable? No. It depends, right? I've mentioned this in previous videos, so sorry if I'm saying the same thing over and over again. It depends on what your forte is. What's your forte? Steve, is that your name? No, it's Brian. Brian, what's your forte? Think about what your forte is. That should be your focus, okay? So if you're a really good game designer, like you're really good at putting puzzles together and rewarding the player, if you understand player psychology really well when it comes to how they move and what they collect and how they're rewarded, then you should focus on game design, the game loop, the functionality. Now, obviously, I'm not saying don't focus on that if you suck at it, but I'm saying you really should be focusing on what your forte is. My forte is not game design. It's not functionality. My brother Steve is he's really good at game design and functionality. And I'll put together the entire level and it looks really pretty, and he'll play it and he'll be like, oh, you could have done this and you could have done that and you could have done this. And it's unfortunate because I put story and I put illustration above game design. And what does that mean? It means I should probably hire a game designer, right? If I had enough money, or I felt like my budget was capable of handling that, maybe I would do it. But for me, I tend to slap band-aids on things. And those band-aids are camouflage as story or as illustration. So if I have a bad game design, I can cover it up with good illustration and good mood and atmosphere and music, and people don't really notice it. But if the mood and the atmosphere of my games, and that's my forte, is mood and atmosphere, if they weren't in my games would suck. They would suck so bad. Maybe you guys already think that, but they would especially suck if they didn't have the mood and the story. So it depends on what your forte is. That's my best answer I can give you. Please wishlist Neversong below, guys, and I'll answer your question. I am favoring those who wishlist Neversong first. So let's pick someone on this list here who wishlisted Neversong. Thomas, are you still combining your animations into one action in Blender? I had the same problem in Unity 3D, but found the issue. Yeah, I do. Now this game, I didn't use Blender at all for this game, for Neversong, but I'm working on a. Oh no, I'm getting tired. I'm using Blender for my next game, which is 3D, and yeah, all my animations are combined into one timeline, and then I cut them up inside of Unity. It's really, really unfortunate, but that's the best solution I could find. What was Neversong inspired by? Ooh, that's a really good question. Neversong was inspired by a lot of artwork. Adam Phillips, Adam Westerman, Esau Andrews, Ivan de Earl. So illustration wise, lots of illustration. Ooh, Gory, was his name Gory? Edward Gory? Let's type that in. Edward Gory. Yeah, that's a great name, by the way. Edward Gory. Yes, very much inspired by Edward Gory. You guys should look that up. Huge inspiration from him. It's like if Edward Gory and Ivan Earl had a baby together, it would be Neversong. I think that's a good way to put it. Yeah. Okay, let's go for another question here. Charlie says, how much, and Charlie wishlisted the game, I can tell. Thank you, Charlie, for wishlisting Neversong. That really means a lot. Please wish list below, guys. Get a discount. Everyone keeps asking me, Thomas, is that all this stream is for? Are you just trying to snag wish lists? Are you being capitalistic? Yes, I am. Thank you for your wish list, everybody. How do you... hold on. Yes, from Charlie. Charlie says, how much time do you spend on planning? And he gave me a smiley face. There you go, Charlie. There's a smile. I'm a big fan of smiles. Charlie said, how much time do I spend on planning? You know, I don't plan a lot of my games. Well, yes, I do. That's a lie. This had a roadmap, had a project roadmap. We had like 6 phases with roadmaps for each level and character. But the truth is that I would make the roadmap and then I would scrap it because something didn't feel right or something didn't work. So what I find is it's better to do your roadmap in pieces because this is probably terrible advice. I wonder if like a AAA art director is like, do not listen to this guy. He does not know what he's talking about. But for me personally, I find it better to do a roadmap in pieces. Because things change over time. You do a game mechanic and you're like, you know what? That actually really sucks. I'm gonna abandon that. Well, that one piece that was abandoned might affect other game design mechanics that didn't work, or story elements, or characters, or whatever. So I'm live streaming my next game, the creation of it. I try to do it every other day. And you guys will see, like, every time I open up Unity, it's like, whoa, it looks totally different. And some of the mechanics he spent 20 hours creating are gone. And it's just because I could have put it in a roadmap and said, this is going to be my game and commit to it. But especially in the beginning phase, it's good to just have fun and goof off and make a great game that you enjoy. And then put your roadmap together after you've created a general idea of what you want. And then 3 months later, you're going to change your roadmap again. And then 6 months later, you're going to change your roadmap again. Now, this is a terrible idea if you have a client who's paying you to make them a game. The problem is that if you do have a client who wants you to make a game, like a freelance client, you're probably going to make a subpar game because you're not going to have that flexibility. So there you go. This thing's wiggling all over the place. Guys, thank you for wishlisting. Wow. That means so much to me. Those of you who are asking questions, you really are standing on good, solid ground. I can tell that you all wishlisted Neversong, and that's really kind of you. All these questions are paid for with a wish list, and I appreciate it. Hey, Thomas, sorry for the blunt question. Uh-oh. I'm reading it. Anytime someone says it's a blunt question, I hesitate to read it out loud. I'm just curious, do you enjoy streaming, making videos, or is it mostly a pragmatic choice? That's a really great question, Giannis. It's kind of both. So YouTube is a chunk of my income, right? And that's okay. So it brings in a certain amount of income that helps provide for my studio and my family, helps me continue to make games. Sometimes I need to do a video for the next week and I don't want to do it. Like right now, I have a video that I need to do and I don't want to do it, but I need to do it because it's sponsored. And so I have to sort of muster up the courage and the energy to say, you know what, I'm going to make this video, and that's okay. And not everything is fun, right? It doesn't mean that it's not valuable to you guys. It doesn't mean that it's not honest. It just means that it's hard. And so, yeah, sometimes it's a pragmatic choice. Now, when it comes to live streaming, I love live streaming, meaning like I love doing Q&As, even though this one is about wish lists. I'll be honest with you. But I love live streaming the creation of games. That actually motivates me and makes me work harder when people are watching me. And so I try to do it as much as I can. I would recommend it, guys. Live stream your game, even if you have 3 people watching you. Don't necessarily read the chat because that can really, really wear you down, because some people are going to say questions like, Thomas, are you drunk? Those kind of questions could really derail you. So I would just say it's nice to have people watching you and know that they're watching you and it'll motivate you to get your work done. A lot of people ask me, Thomas, why don't you read the chat while you're working? And I'm like, because I'm working. So yeah. Here's another question from Hussein. Hussein, I hope you're doing well. Thank you for asking this question. He said, wishlisted, in parentheses, wishlisted. I paid you. That's great. Thank you for letting me know. Please wishlist Neversong, guys. And that is your payment for asking a question. And I'll try and answer as best I can. Which is the best practice? Designing a level in its entirety versus splitting a level into multiple scenes? Oh, Hussein, I don't know. That sounds like some AAA people would do. I don't do that. This is one big giant level. It's split into screen boxes. But technically, it doesn't need to be. I mean, it probably does, actually, because that's pretty big. Yeah, I don't know. I can't answer your question, Hussein. I'm sorry. I don't really know the right way to go about it. Jack1 says, Thomas, why are you not drunk? Maybe in 30 minutes. Okay, because it's gonna be 5 in 30 minutes, at least where I'm at. Are you working with a publisher for your new 3D game? No. So what I do is my little business model. I like to work with publishers. I really do. There's two alternatives or two options. One is make a game. Well, there's three. Make a game completely alone, and at the very end of your game, after 7 years of making the game, hope to God you made some money because you just spent $500,000 on your own salary. The second option, I can't do that. The second option, here, I'll do it halfway. The second option is you're going to work with a publisher, and they're going to fund you, and you're going to get the game done quicker because you're going to be able to hire people. You're going to be able to use their resources to make a great game. That's the second option. The third option is hire people and be a publisher yourself. The problem is you have to spend $500,000 in 2 years or a year and really cram a lot of cash into your game in 3 years or in a year or two, right? And most of us don't have that opportunity, and that's pretty scary. Now, some developers out there is going to say, why are you spending $500,000 in a year to make a game? That's just my experience of... It depends. I can't really tell you like which game was expensive, which ones weren't. Sometimes it's more expensive. I actually don't even know the numbers because I tend to just make the games and I don't really think about it. And at the end, I look back and I go, whoa, I don't know the exact number, but that was expensive. And I sort of leave that up to my publisher. But I know things can get really expensive. And if you're going to be a owner of a video game studio and be the publisher and the funder, it can get really devastatingly expensive. So that's why I like to work with publishers. Ooh, Absy. Is that how you say your name? Abs? And I could really use some abs. What was the most hardest part of making Neversong? And Abs, you wishlisted, didn't you? Thank you for wishlisting. Guys, please wishlist Neversong below. That would really mean a lot to me. Abs says, what was the most hardest part of making Neversong? I think the hardest part was in March of last year. March or April. And everyone was mad because it wasn't done. And it was my fault because I was so particular about certain things. The mood or the music. Because there's like, I think the soundtrack is actually double what it ended up being. So it's this many songs. It's actually this many songs I wrote, and I cut it down because I could not pick certain songs. And so everyone was just frustrated because, Thomas, why isn't the game done? Everyone, even my audience. And so we all decided, meaning my publisher and I, decided that we needed to scramble and get it done in a month. And I remember I was at the gym and I was having a phone call with one of the project managers. And she was very kind, but she was just like, look, we can't keep doing this. We can't keep pushing the project. So I said, okay, I'm going to release kind of a half okay game, I guess. And we were like, okay. And we finished it as much as we could and got it ported as much as we could. And it was okay. But I think that it was really great when Apple partnered with us because we were able to put in a lot of extra stuff, specifically just bug testing and cleaning up the game and making it optimized. Performance optimization is huge. And then also, like, I think we doubled the amount of languages in the game, which is really cool. That was a really hard time because I felt like I had let everyone down. It's really hard to feel like with publishers, it can get really like, things are great with my publishers and I right now. But there are times when things get heated. It's kind of like a marriage. You make mistakes. You have to apologize for things. You got to work through things. You can't just abandon your publisher, you know? So things can get really icky really fast, and then you work through them, you know? You call them up and say, hey, can we talk? You're my friend. We're in a partnership. Let's do this thing. Let's make this thing work. Even though you've made mistakes, they've made mistakes. Sometimes you say things you shouldn't say, but you have to come together and make a great game. And when you're working with a team or you're working with a publisher, man, it's a difficult relationship, because what is more emotional than making something that's emotional, right? Like, creating something that has a beating heart and telling a story that you really believe in is such a difficult thing to do with partnerships. It's such a difficult thing because on one end you're like, but the story, but the music, but the mood. And then on the other side, they're like, but the money. So it's just a really difficult relationship. But man, Serenity Forge was a great relationship to have. They were so good. They really pushed me to stick with the deadline, and I'm glad they did, because it pushed me to work really hard, and I actually made some really great content in that time period where I was being rushed. I said, you know what? I'm going to work my butt off. And it was awesome because I made some really great content. So I thank Serenity Forge for that. It's nice to have someone pushing you to be as fast as you can. Sorry, I'm reading these comments here. Abs, I answered your question, buddy. This is from Mustafa. That's a cool name, man. He said, I wishlisted it. Thank you for wishlisting it. Guys, please wishlist Neversong using the link in the description. That would really mean a lot to me. Mustafa says, are you intending to be a solo dev for all time, or will you be a part of it? I'm already a part of a team. I gave up on solo dev a long time ago. I think it was 2.5 years ago. I said, I'm not doing this again. This is stupid. And it is kind of stupid. Like, I get it. Like, I understand why solo dev is necessary at the beginning. It's just not worth the emotional damage. I mean, I guess it is, because I made Pinstripe alone, and it was great. And I'm meaning it paid off. It paid my bills. It was worth my time. But in the end, I mean, I partnered with a publisher, so they helped me a little bit with the marketing and stuff. So it's not worth it. I'm never doing that again. I'm never doing that again. I'm sorry. It's good to challenge yourself and get a thick skin, and you've got to do it at some point. You've got to be willing to say, you know what? I need to do this alone. And I honestly, guys, let me change my tune here. If you're a solo dev, do it. Get your game done. But don't, unless you're some kind of genius, don't commit to it forever. It's just not worth it. It's exhausting. When I say it is not worth it, what I mean, it is long-term solo dev. That is not worth it. Short-term, maybe 2-3 years, it's worth it. Get started, get going, make your game. 10 years? No. That's a recipe for emotional disaster. Okay, we got another person who wishlisted. Thank you for wishlisting. That really means a lot. Guys, if you want to ask a question, your payment to me is to wishlist Neversong. That would really mean a lot, seriously. You get notified of the discount on launch. Okay, so this is from Pusty's Pulse. I didn't make that up. That's your name. That's an interesting name. Pusty Pulse 92. Wishlisted. How do you get better at the art aspect of game development? Is it possible to make a good looking game by buying assets? Yes, of course. David Well. I'm sorry, it's David Whaley. I'm gonna call him David Well for the rest of my life because that's what I used to think his name was. It's David Whaley, I think. He operates a YouTube channel called Game Dev Unlocked. He made a game called The First Tree, and that game is very much built with pre-made assets. But he made it his own, obviously. But yeah. Samurai C says, can I just wish list it and get noticed? Yes, Samurai. Guys, let's all notice Samurai. Samurai C, you are noticed. How's that feel? That feels good, doesn't it? To be noticed. Man. Oh, man. Congratulations, you're noticed. Man, that's gonna wear off in like 10 minutes. But you're noticed. But thank you, Samurai. I'm just messing with you, Samurai C. Thank you for wish listing. That really means a lot. That's funny. This is from Cody. Wish listed, boy. Thomas Brush. Why use orthographic camera with the script instead of perspective? That's a loaded question, isn't it? It's kind of hard. It's really hard, actually. It's hard to explain, but what's harder is getting it to work. So here's what it looks like. Okay, here we go. Let me show you something. Let's pretend that we're in the actual game, okay? Can we just show... Is there a way to not show the gizmos? There we go. And also a couple more. I don't want to see any of them. I can't... Isn't there just a big deselection? That sucks. So anyway, you're gonna have to see these circles. Here's my perspective mode. Looks pretty cool, doesn't it? I like it. But the problem is, see the edges? What that means is your background elements, because they shrink in scale, you actually have to make them bigger than the foreground. So I guess there's multiple ways of getting around this. You could actually write a script that sorts through the z-axis and then scales them up. But I like everything to be nice and clean. So when I'm in Photoshop, I want it to look like this. And then when I hit play, I want everything to look exactly like this. And then shift. So that's as best as I can explain it. And I remember having this conversation with Eric way in the beginning of the development, and it was really hard to explain why I wanted it to be orthographic. And when I look at games like Ori and the Blind Forest, that game is like 3D-ish. I'm pretty sure that's a perspective camera. It just seems so... Props to them, because they worked with the perspective camera, and I don't know how they did it. Okie dokie. Why don't you do 2.5? This is from Mustafa again, who wishlisted. Thank you for wishlisting. Guys, if you want to ask a question, you need to wishlist. Wishlist the game in the link in the description. You get notified of a launch discount. Why don't you have, and that's for Neversong, the game we're looking at today. It's coming out May 20th. Why don't you do 2.5D games, which is so good? I watched your 2.5D video. I don't know. I just want to go to 3D. I need to know, what are those transparent green orbs? This is from Philip. I don't know what you're talking about, Philip. What transparent green orbs? These? Those are little sacks. I don't know how to answer that. Yes, this is the best question ever. Paj. Hey, Paj, how are you doing? And Paj, you wishlisted the game, didn't you? Thank you. Please, guys, wishlist the game. That would really mean a lot to me. Click the link in the description. Wishlist, and then you can ask your question. Paj says... And by the way, thank you, Christian. Do you feel exhausted remaking your own game? Absolutely. I felt exhausted on the first semester. Can I use that word even though I'm not in school? Semester of making this game. I think that was in 2017 or 18. It was in 2017. Yes, it's exhausting. Like, just thinking about it. I'm gonna remake my game that I made when I was 18. It's a weird thing. I feel like I've been in this hibernated state. I could be yawn thinking about it. I've been in this hibernated state of making Pinstripe and Coma. Pinstripe and Coma. That's the best hand motion I can think of. Pinstripe in coma for 10, longer than 10 years, 12 effing years. So I'm really excited to move on to the next project. The problem is that my next project is like kind of similar to my previous projects. So I'm in this, I'll probably be this way for the rest of my life. I like certain themes and certain motifs, and I like the afterlife. I love talking about the afterlife and psychological states, like dreams and comas and worlds that aren't this one is what I really like. So yeah. Oh, need my glasses. My glasses are foggy. Okay. Platypus, who wishlisted the game. Thank you for wishlisting Neversong, guys. Please wishlist below. Platypus says, is curiosity better than ambition? I don't know. That's a weird question. It's a good one. It's weird. I don't know. I don't think ambition is very beneficial either. I think foresight is a better. I think foresight is the best, meaning the ability to predict your future. How can you predict your future if you don't also know the steps to get there? And that's being able to say, this is what my future looks like. Here are the steps to get there. When you can predict the future, what happens is you just really want it. Like you're like, man, I see the future and I really want that. So here's what I'm going to do to get there. That's true with fitness, with marriage, with your children, with your friendships, with your relationships, with your games, with your projects, everything. Here's what it needs to look like. You behold it in your mind. This is what my marriage is going to look like. We're going to be loving. We're going to be kind. I'm going to be humble. I'm not going to be proud. I'm going to treat her with respect. This is what I want my marriage to look like. Now, how do I get there? Because I'm kind of a jerk right now. Well, I'm going to read this book. I'm going to do this kind of self-development. I'm going to talk to these people. I'm going to meet with somebody. All of these different steps to get to that place. It's true in marriage, but it's also true in your game, right? I want to make this much money. I want it to look like this. I want these many people to play this game. I want to partner with this publisher. I want to partner with this platform. All these different visualizations. Once you achieve the visualization, you've tasted it and you've smelled it and you're like, man, I want that. Well, how do you get there? Then you make the steps. So being able to see the future is the most important aspect of being I think, if you want to be a successful person, whatever successful means. Thank you so much, Kyle. Kyle has added Neversong to his wish list. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Kyle. That means a lot to me. Ooh, I'm trash. Man, you really think highly of yourself, I'm trash. I'm trash says, do you think the best way to learn to program is C#? Oh, the best way to program in C# is to go to college? No. I have a learning disability and it's really difficult for me to learning others online or reading. Okay, well, if that's the case, if you have a learning disability, then go to college. I think if you don't have a learning disability, I don't think college is the answer. But if you need that hands-on, then that's awesome. And I would say it's an asset because certain people learn really fast and really well with hands-on learning. I could talk about me though. College was really bad for me because I did good. I made good grades. I got my degree, but I didn't do it in C# or anything. So I can't speak to that. Or like computer science, I didn't do. I just don't know if it's worth the baggage of having debt piled onto you like crazy. My dad paid for my school because I'm a very lucky person and very spoiled, and he was very generous. Okay. Make Amiga says, thank you for wish listing, Mick Amiga. Thomas says, I don't have any, or not Thomas, I'm Thomas. Mick Amiga says, I don't have any friends. So I decided that you are going to be my friend. We are friends now. Do you understand? Absolutely, I understand. I'm sorry that I didn't understand that sooner. Please forgive me. Okay. Ooh, yes. This is a great question. Guys, if you want to ask a question, please wish list below. We're wishlisting Neversong, my next game. It's coming out May 20th on Steam. Thomas, do you have any advice to begin workouts? Yes, I do. There's a book called Bigger, Leaner, Stronger. It's for men. And then there's also one for women called Thinner, Leaner, Stronger. And they're basically kind of the same, but this book sort of changed my entire view of fitness. You don't have to be sweating. You don't have to be screaming. You don't have to be miserable. You don't have to be up at 5 in the morning. You don't have to be eating chicken and rice all day. You know, me and my wife, we get up every morning at, well, not every morning, but a lot. A lot of the time it's like 6:50 and we start working out at 7, which isn't that early. And we don't sweat at all. We just work out. We take 4-minute breaks between each set. And we follow this book called The 1 Year Challenge for Men. And there's one called The 1 Year Challenge for Women. It's by a guy named, I think it's Michael Matthews. And that's all I suggest. Just read those books. Bigger, Leaner, Stronger. And that's for men. If you're a woman, it's Thinner, Leaner, Stronger. And they're very practical books. And they will help you understand everything you need to know to not become a typical gamer or game dev. That's my big thing, right? I don't want to be stuck behind a computer all day long and not be healthy and not be fit. I want to be a 60-year-old game dev who has some muscle on him and who's healthy. And guys, it also helps your brain. I love fitness. Fitness is a big deal to me. Okay. Oh my goodness, we've got so many exclamation marks and so many question marks. I can't not answer this question because of your punctuation skills. Wadagree, who obviously wishlisted the game because he or she used 3 exclamation points. By the way, guys, please wishlist Neversong below. You get a discount on launch. Can you show some of the stuff you made at your full-time job in the past? Oh no. I don't know if I want to do that. I'm so sorry. I don't even know if it's allowed because I didn't make it. The agency did. I was just an employee. But I can tell you what I did is I made email blasts and flash animations for sewage systems. I can't remember what it was. Recycling systems. I made websites for tire companies. I did learning modules for faucet companies. Stimulating. I didn't really like it, but I wouldn't like anything that I had to do working in a cubicle under some kind of direct authority. And by direct, I mean, I don't have a boss right now, but I do. I mean, I'm working with companies and publishers and Kickstarter backers and you guys. So there's an authority set over all of us. You can't really escape authority, can you? But yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that direct authority. So I wouldn't like, even if I was like, I don't know, working for Blizzard, I don't know if I would like it. All right, Camelio. Hey, Camelio, thank you for wish listing. That really means a lot to me. You're a smart person. I just wish listed. I loved Pinstripe. Smile. I wanted to know specifically, especially since you changed to 3D, where to start learning environmental art from zero, especially in 3D. Just like with your next game. Oh man, that's a good question. I don't know. There's different ways to going about environment art. You can use the terrain tool, or you can use Blender and start making an environment that way. And you can use asset packs, and I don't know. And I draw a lot of my art style from 2D. So going from 2D into 3D, I find that for me, I don't really have things super lit. I don't use diffuse or specular or bump maps. it's pretty flat in 2D, and if there is shading, it's a very subtle gradient. So I use 2D Colors Pro. So I come from a 2D background, so I like to have control over color, and I feel so lost the moment that highly realistic lighting is thrown into the mix. And so I'm not answering your question, but that's as best as I can do. Sorry. Are you thinking of making animated movies with this art style? Wouldn't that be fun? You guys don't know this, maybe you do, but Pinstripe is currently in the process of being shopped around for a filmmaker. And so if anybody is in the film industry and you know somebody, let me know. But it was optioned by this company called Leyline Productions. And they are a Hollywood studio, and they've made a lot of really big films, a lot of great movies, or at least the producer has. It's a new company, but the producer has. And it's currently, we're looking for some directors and stuff. They want to do live action, but I think it'd be really cool to do 3D as well. That would be really, really cool. All right, let's see here. I got time for one more question, guys. I wish listed Neversong. No, that's Paul says, I wish Neversong could be played on Mac OS. It can. I have wish listed. Thank you. I'll do one more question, guys. This is a good question from Z Codes. And by the way, guys, please wishlist Neversong. That would really mean a lot to me. Click the link in the description. Basically, Z Codes asks, it's a long question, but Z Codes asks, how do you tell a story with a 2D platformer? I find that it's really, really helpful to have cutscenes that are animated, or a flip book or something. Cuphead did a really good job of doing this. Also, it's really helpful to have voice acting. I really like man, my stomach is growling. I really like voice acting because you're allowed to tell emotion without having a third dimension. You can just have the player, or not the player, the voice actor, show emotion, even though you're in a 2D space and it's a platformer. It can be a challenge, but just make sure you're utilizing the right areas that you have freedom, which is voice acting, music, and cutscenes. All right, guys, please, all of you, we've got 141 people watching. Please wishlist Neversong. That would really mean a lot to me. And that's all I've got time for today. Well, I hope you guys had a good time. I know I did. Thanks for hanging around. I really do mean that. I joke a lot, but I really enjoy having you guys hang out with me, and I love answering your questions and hopefully teaching you guys something. And I learn a lot from you guys during live streams all the time, so I guess it's a fair trade. I'll talk to you later.